Thank you, Dr. Faria, for introducing me. Uh, I welcome you all from home and abroad to participate in the meeting. And today we will hear from Professor S.M. Ashrafuzzaman. He is the head of the Department of Endocrinology, Bardem General Hospital. He is also the Vice President of Bangladesh Endocrine Society. And we will be listening from him about a very important subject in control of diabetes is the choice of anti-diabetics in chronic kidney diseases. And it is a very interesting subject and very important for all, for the nephrologist as well as for the endocrinologist and others. Okay, I will invite Professor Dr. S.M. Ashrafuzzaman, please.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Uh, my dear colleague, respected today's chair, Dr. Sarwar Iqbal, Professor of Endocrinology and Head of the Department of Endocrinology at Bardem. My another colleague as moderator for her nice moderation. I like to thank her, Dr. Faria Afsana. Respected teachers who are listening me, the endocrinologists, diabetologists from different parts of the country as well as from abroad, and dear participants. I welcome today's BADA's virtual diabetes conference, and as you know, today is 6th September. On this day in 1989, our beloved Professor Muhammad Ibrahim sir expired. That was an emotional event for me because I was that time working at Bardem and very junior medical officer at that time I was there. But I got very love and affection from Professor Muhammad Ibrahim that make me to be a successful career in Bardem as an endocrinologist. Now I am working starting from a junior medical officer. I am now professor and head of the Department of Endocrinology of Bardem. This is my success story with the help of many of my mentors and teachers, those who are present today's virtual conference. And I like to thank the organizer, those who have given me the opportunity to be a speaker as well as I'm part of an organizer. I like to welcome all of you. I like to thank all the sponsors though who have supported this virtual event, including the virtual support team that is CT Health. So without delay, if I start my deliberation, very important topic of clinical importance, as Dr. Sarar Iqbal is already mentioned, the choice of anti-diabetic in CKD, that is chronic kidney disease. Okay, thank you. When we consider to treat a diabetic patient generally, we consider the few factors to start a drug. This is a general concept. Like what type of diabetes or what is the class of diabetes of the patient we are going to treat, what is his or her age and target of control we decide. We consider the body weight to start a drug and acute or chronic, whether acute or chronic complications is present or not, and what are the associated illness or diseases he or she had, and degree of hyperglycemia, that is severity of the disease, sometimes invite to start with insulin even with type 2 diabetes, and all other among the all other analytical factors, we also considered the socio-economic status and what are the previous drugs or treatment he or she is taking. We know the anti-diabetic agents we used to treat, considering these factors, the types of the drugs are two types. And one is orally we administer, that is oral anti-diabetic or oral anti-glycemic agents. Another is injectable agents, that is insulin or non-insulin like glutides. As you have already heard from this morning by two different eminent speaker, or Professor Farid Pathan sir as well as Dr. Firoz Amin, about the injectable agents and other non-injectable agents like GLP-1 receptor agonist. When we consider to use the oral antidiabetic agents, oral antidiabetic agents should not be used in the following cases. In that case, directly we will go to insulin, like type 1 diabetes, acute complication of diabetes including acute renal failure, and decompensated or uncompensated advanced chronic complications like chronic kidney disease in advance, heart disease or other complications, eye disease or neuropathies, pregnancy, lactation, major surgery, very high fasting blood glucose. When oral antidiabetic fails, in that case we will use insulin definitely, and OAD may cause harm. In such cases we will never use or start or not continue OAD for their management. And finally, but not the least, in case of underweight patient, we used to use insulin, as insulin has got some other benefit other than blood glucose control like weight gain and anabolic acts like anabolic hormone. If we do not control or if we treat the diabetes to the target, we can have some complications like stroke, blindness, heart attack, kidney failure. That is today's topic. And the kidney failure, that is 5 times more common from the general population in diabetic patients. And lower limb amputation is 20 times higher among the diabetic patients than the non-diabetic patients. If we treat very effectively, that is, if we control the blood glucose intensively, we can protect our from the patients from microvascular complications like retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy. Around 37% that Dr. Firoz in his lecture is already mentioned. Screening of kidney disease with diabetes, that is the one of the microvascular complication, is very important part and parcel of diabetes management. That is, if not present in type 1 diabetes at the diagnosis, we will screen the patient every 5 years. But in case of type 2 diabetes, we will screen definitely at the diagnosis and every year or when it is necessary, because any time or any course of treatment, type 2 diabetic patients may develop microvascular as well as macrovascular complication due to the long hidden duration of diabetes onset and insulin resistance as well. That is the insulin deficiency as well as insulin deficiency, two contributing factors for the development of diabetic complications. And if established kidney disease is there, more frequent screening or monitoring is essential, which is suggested by the nephrologist as well as by the treating physician. That may be less than 1 year, that is 1 to 3 months time even for frequent monitoring sometimes is essential after the diagnosis of kidney disease. As we know, the diabetic nephropathy, it is the structural abnormality of the kidneys, including there is albuminuria and progressive decline in GFR or CCR, and many of the patients in course of their disease will develop hypertension. Microalbumin, as you know, its normal urinary albumin excretion rate is less than 30 milligram per day. If it is within 30 to 300 milligram per day, that is called microalbumin. This state or this position or this time is very important to identify the patient with microalbuminuria level, because this is a reversible stage of kidney disease. If we can treat effectively at this stage, we can reverse the microalbuminuria so that we can prevent or we can halt the progress to overt proteinuria, even end-stage renal disease, and we can save morbidity and mortality of kidney disease. In points to note, if we screen the microalbuminuria as is the earliest asymptomatic diagnosis of structural damage of kidney disease. If you want to know about microalbumin more, that is the exclude physiologist causes of microalbuminuria. That's why you needs 2 samples should be positive in subsequent 6 months of period. Once one test may not be always diagnostic. And diabetes and hypertension should be controlled properly before screening, including infection control like UTI, and other causes of false microalbuminuria or proteinuria should be excluded first, or 2 sample in 6 months. If it is positive, it should be considered as positive microalbumin, and patient should be treated very effectively. If we want to prevent this stage, that is prevention of diabetic nephropathy, we have to consider the following points. There is good control of diabetes, that is to the target, by choice of medication, particular medication which will highlight later on. Hypertension should be controlled to the target level with a specific drug like ACE inhibitor, ARBs. If contraindicated, the other drugs should be, but hypertension should be controlled by any means to the target. Lipids should be controlled to the target. Weight should be minimized or should be in ideal body weight. Smoking cessation and physical activity should be taken care. Other risk factor associated illness should be taken care, and we must avoid nephrotoxic drugs, and from this stage to avoid and careful use of other drugs, particularly NSAIDs, and early detection of diabetic nephropathy at the microalbuminuria level, or as already I have told, is the part and parcel of management of diabetes and kidney disease. Stages of kidney disease, that is, first stage is clinical stage is hyperfiltration, then silent microalbuminuria and incipient nephropathy, then overt nephropathy, and ultimately end stage renal disease. If we can detect the patient at the silent level or at the incipient level, that is the reversible stage. But when there is overt proteinuria, at that time hypertension is there, that is EGFR is less, and there is proteinuria, microalbumin more than 300 or overt proteinuria. At that time it is not irreversible. It is usually progressive, but progressive can be delayed but cannot be halted. Ultimately, this group of patients will end to end stage renal disease, and they will need renal replacement therapy like dialysis and or renal transplant. That is one of the very devastating time for the patients with diabetes. The stages of CKD, chronic kidney disease, as we know by EGFR, that is, if it is more than 90, usually it is 90 to 120, but if it is in stage 1 kidney disease more than 90, but there may have structural damage of the kidney only, but EGFR is normal. Ultimately, in severe GFR, EGFR is less than 30, and in final ultimate kidney failure, the EGFR comes down to less than 15. This is the EGFR based CKD by MDRD or CCR. They, as you know, I will not go in details of this. And fallacies of EGFR, of all of you know, if we calculate by any means, by MDRD or CKD or by Gault formula, any formula, if you calculate, majority have within 30% error, plus minus 30% error of EGFR. That's why consecutive or successive EGR estimation calculation is more important, or CCR estimation is more important. That is, consecutive reports are very important. Weight sometimes is sometimes hamper the EGFR level, so weight should be, overweight and underweight should be excluded for checking MDRD by MDRD or called formula. Less than 80 years and more than 60 years, EGFR should not be very accurate. And in case of pregnancy, particularly the AKI, acute kidney injury time, the variable creatinine and EGFR is shown, so that is not the time for to based EGFR for treatment of the patient. And in case of advanced CKD, if the variation of CKD is creatinine is very rapid, at that time the EGFR formula, MDRD formula or other formulas of estimation is not accurate. EGFR, we can, as already I am told, that many different formula with 30% variation is there. Modified diet and renal disease, that is the common formula. It is a complex formula, but there is in calculator in all web-based, that is in calculator is there. Cockcroft-Gault formula is easier, that is age minus, 140 minus age into weight in ideal body weight in kg, or lean body weight divided by serum creatinine micromole per liter into 72. And if women, this the result will be corrected with multiplied by 0.85. And another formula is cystatin C based formula that is also used in some countries or some institutions. But the level is all in, if 90 it is normal, if less than 15 it is severe, in between there is stage 2, 3, 4, 3A, 3B and 4 is there. Ultimately, the what drugs we should use, that is a big guideline. Many guidelines is there, but we used to consider most popular guideline is, that is ADA, that is American Diabetic Association, or ESD, European Association for Study of Diabetes guideline, or IDF guideline, WHO guideline is sometimes used. But many countries like Canada, Australia has their own guidelines. This is the IDF guideline, which is already known to all. If there is atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or heart failure or CKD, the drugs we have already shown by Professor Farooq Padhan sir in the morning, the main drug is GLP-1 receptor agonist or SGLT2 inhibitor, or these drugs cannot be used, then DPP4 inhibitor along with metformin is the first drug if not contraindicated or intolerant in case of kidney disease. Mere only proteinuria does not exclude to use for metformin. Sometimes with only proteinuria or only microalbumin, we used to sometimes stop metformin, but metformin should be continuous until and unless there is metformin guideline for stopping this drug. I will show in next few slides. This is the indicators of high risk of established CAD, coronary artery disease. I will not go through. This is heart failure and CKD. That is, SGLT we can use in this case if there is mild to moderate renal failure with EGFR less than 30. We will discuss in few slides. SGLT2 inhibitor, that is all gliflozin, dapagliflozin, canagliflozin or empagliflozin. And as I have told, the first line therapy is metformin. With metformin, if not metformin is contraindicated, the other SGLT2 inhibitor or GLP-1 receptor agonist should be combined as the second line of drug to reach the target and to treat the effective treatment of diabetes as well as to prevent the further damage of the kidneys. If we use DPP4, a GLP-1 receptor agonist should not be used, or if we use receptor agonist, DPP4 should be stopped. This is the first line therapy with metformin. If we use the metformin, because metformin sometimes we use sulfonylurea, sometimes we add thiazolidine. These are all drugs in safe in kidney disease, but definitely this drug has got increased chance of hypoglycemia in case of advanced kidney disease. This thiazolidine chance of water retention in kidney disease, if there is chance of if there is hypoalbuminemia or associated heart failure or associated osteoporosis, these drugs must not be used. That is, whenever we are choosing a drug, not only the kidney, every individual comorbidities and individual conditions of the patient should be considered, and all the individual side effect of the drug must be considered, including the CKD. All the drugs, whatever is shown in the table, is safe in kidney disease, but there is some disadvantages. This is not contraindicated, but not absolutely safe. They have got some advantages. Of course, there is some disadvantages that should be taken care for the benefit and benefit and loss or contraindication to individual patients, which will help or which will damage to the further kit of the disease. Drugs used in CKD, we must anti-diabetic drugs particularly, we must take in consideration, does the drug may cause lactic acidosis in this kidney patient? Is it nephrotoxic? If we treating AKI, whether it can deteriorate the AKI or it may produce acute kidney injury. Does it deteriorate the urinary tract infection? Is there that is in there, or that will lead to AKI? Whether lowering of EGFR, estimated glomerular filtration is rate is there with this drug, like SGLT2 inhibitor, can it be happen with this drug? Or hypoglycemia like maximum sometimes with sulfonylurea or insulin, especially with the in multiple daily dose insulin, particularly the human insulin is used, the chance of hypoglycemia and sulfonylurea is there. So these factors, when you are using a drug in chronic kidney disease, these factors must be considered for each and every patient with chronic kidney disease, including stage of the disease of the patient, like whether the patient is in the stage 1 or whether it is in the stage 5. An oral antidiabetic, that is glucose lowering drug in injectable, with injectable agents when use, we can use all the drugs, injectable like insulin and GLP-1, we can use all the drugs, only GLP-1 receptor agonist and DPP-4 inhibitor should not be used together. Both all the drugs are is not contraindicated, but they have got some advantages and disadvantages for the kidney disease as well, as I mentioned. Like if we want to use metformin, metformin is good drug and the first drug of type 2 diabetes, as we know, after lifestyle. But when EGFR is less than 30, this patient, whether the patient is getting metformin should be stopped. That can be calculated by estimated GEGFR, or sometimes we consider the creatinine if male, if it is more than 1.5 and in female it is more than 1.4. Along with this EGFR, if it is 30 to 45, we can use with caution, but dose should be lowered more, about less than 50%. If it is EGFR is 45 to 60, monitor the renal function every 3 to 6 months, and dose must not be more than 1 gram of metformin per day. So metformin in limited dose can be used in EGFR is 45 to 60. But when even there is renal structural damage with microalbuminuria or overproteinuria, if the creatinine in this level or the EGFR is more than 60, there is no contraindication using full dose like 2.5 to 3 gram of metformin in these patients. So metformin, mere proteinuria does not indicate the contraindication of the disease. Sometimes creatinine more than 1.5, but EGFR is less than 60, we can use very safely, but there is chance of always lactic acidosis, though it is very rare and very theoretical complications of metformin, but should be taken care, particularly in old age and very hypoxic condition patients, those who are associated with COPD, asthma, or those who are suffering from some other problems with heart failure. That sort of patient may develop lactic acidosis, though chance is very rare. And stop the metformin if EGFR is less than 30. And in case of pregnancy, lactation, liver disease as usual. DPP-4 inhibitor is usually safe in kidney. All the DPP-4s, that is alogliptin, linagliptin, saxagliptin, sitagliptin, and vildagliptin, all drugs are safe, but there some have correction or some have dose adjustment with the EGFR. If only the linagliptin is the exception. For linagliptin, as it is not excreted by the kidney, it does not need any dose adjustment. So other, according to EGFR like sitagliptin, it can be used if EGFR more than 60, 100%, but if it is EGFR is less than 30, only 25 milligram can be used. In 50 milligram can be used if only if EGFR is 30 to 60. And linagliptin is one first DPP-4 inhibitor invented, but the other drugs, saxagliptin is the first drug though, but linagliptin is most popular due to its renal safety nowadays. So DPP-4 is safe for kidney, but dose adjustment is needed on other than linagliptin, all other, but it can be used with lower dose according to EGFR. SGLT2 inhibitor is one of the latest drug, that is sodium glucose transporter 2 inhibitors. It is a popular drug due to its cardiovascular, heart and kidney safety and its positive effect, that is including the reduction of mortality, morbidity, as Dr. Firoz Amin very elaborately shown this, and Farooq Pathan sir in the morning. And canagliflozin, dapagliflozin, including the empagliflozin is the group of drug, but should be taken care in case of EGFR if it is less than 30. it should not be initiated or should not be started. But EGFR is more than up to EGFR 30, and creatinine up to mild to moderate renal failure, we can use SGLT2 inhibitor, particularly the empagliflozin. He has got in robust study in EMPA-REG and renal study. In guideline ADA 2020, heart failure, kidney disease if predominance after lifestyle and metformin, if not contraindicated for kidney, liver or heart disease. Liver, if LV ejection fraction, left ventricular ejection less than 45, EGFR 30 to 60, urinary excretion rate more than 30. These are the particular indication of using SGLT2 inhibitor in particularly, and these are the drug of choice in these cases. And among the SGLT2 inhibitor, empagliflozin is preferred than DAPA and canagliflozin due to its robust and very randomized, very important landmark randomized control trial of EMPA-REG outcomes trial. And GLP-1 can be added with metformin, and SGLT2 also can be continued. These three drugs along with drug, that is the most of the mortality of the diabetic patients is due to cardiovascular disease, and next to cardiovascular disease is the renal disease. So if we combine along with lifestyle, particularly when you are treating type 2 diabetes, lifestyle, metformin, SGLT2 inhibitor and GLP-1 receptor agonist or DPP4, if not this affordable or contraindicated, that is the best combination which is considered to save the patient's life, that is to decrease the morbidity and mortality maximum can be possible for this combination. That's why, but some of the patients will ultimately need sulfonylurea, sometimes we use for control of blood glucose in case of kidney disease, and some of the patient will need ultimately, starting from basal insulin, they will need multiple daily dose and intensification of insulin. Secretagogue like sulfonylurea, and it is very popular drug, very old drug from 60s, and it is safe. But in case of kidney disease, according to the stage of disease, there is chance of hypoglycemia. Higher the creatinine, low the EGFR, more chance is the hypoglycemia. And so hypoglycemia should be taken care. Otherwise, sulfonylurea is safe, including non-sulfonyl. Both the drugs should not be used together. And fails to, but many of the times we can fail to achieve. Other drugs can be combined with this. Any drug with sulfonylurea can be used. Only insulin should be taken. When we start insulin, sulfonylurea, non-sulfonylurea should be stopped, particularly in multiple daily dose. One time insulin, sometimes we continue these drugs for a shorter period of time. But higher creatinine, risk is higher for hypoglycemia and other cardiovascular events. So other OAD, that is alpha glucosidase inhibitors like acarbose and miglitol, it is safer in kidney disease, but not very effective, sometimes called GI upset, though it is very weight neutral, hypoglycemic, only can control postprandial blood sugar. Thiazolidinedione is safe in kidney disease, particularly if not there is heart failure, edema, or there is osteoporosis or risk of bladder cancer or like this. So this sort of use of pioglitazone among the thiazolidine is now less, but it is one of the, sometimes it is essential, particularly as an insulin sensitizer. If metformin cannot be used, we can try this drug without this without this condition. In this condition, heart failure, edema, or osteoporosis, it must not be added or used. Finally, insulin is the ultimate answer of CKD treatment, particularly in advanced or when there is diabetes is not controlled. Though there is chance of weight gain and hypoglycemia as usual is there, multiple daily dose injection, and sometimes basal bolus, and sometimes analog insulin may help in this regard of loosening hypoglycemia and weight gain. Modern insulins can help than conventional insulin in this respect. If I can summarize, drugs used in CKD, anti-diabetic agents are not nephrotoxic. Any of the anti-diabetic agents can be used in CKD according to stage, but among oral anti-diabetic agents or oral glucose lowering drugs, SGLT2 one shown proven benefit is like ACE inhibitor and ARB in the early stage of the disease, but each drug has got individual side effect, like ACE inhibitor may cause sometimes ACE inhibitor cough, or sometimes deterioration of renal function like lowering EGFR or increasing creatinine. These are the individual side effects of drug should be considered in each patient. Similarly, SGLT2 sometimes very high glucose patient may cause sodium loss, may cause hypotension, may cause even AKI. So this sort of side effects must be considered and individualized. Better use, best use, and the ideal use, optimum use is the ideal choice with knowledge and the individualize the patient. GLP-1 receptor agonist, if SGLT not is well tolerated, contraindicated in EGFR less than 30, and GLP-1 is another drug if SGLT2 is contraindicated or can be also used in combination. Metformin should be continued until it is intolerant or to stop if EGFR less than 30, or if there is creatinine more than 1.5 or above, if cannot be monitored very properly or there is chance of lactic acidosis. In that case, it should be stopped. Otherwise, up to EGFR 30, it can be continue with lower dose. DPP-4 is safe. Linagliptin is very safe in case of renal perspective. It does not need any dose adjustment. Other DPP-4 inhibitor can be used with dose adjustment. Thiazidone like pioglitazone has got specific side effect, but sometimes we use even with renal failure due to its very strong insulin sensitivity. Sulfonylurea and sulfonylurea and non-sulfonylurea is safe in CKD, but up to moderate CKD, but should be used with caution. It can cause more weight gain or insulin resistance, and insulin is safe in all. Oral anti-diabetic agents sometimes used in or a single or in combination, but judicious use, rational use can control diabetes, can also save the kidney, and ultimately can reduce morbidity and mortality. With due respect to Professor Ibrahim, as I started my speech, today is 6th September, I like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. After the